Hey everybody, welcome back to Work in Progress, the show from the Reno Collective about work, life, and everything in between. We have a fun episode tonight, very casual. We skipped last week because of the inauguration, and it's funny how not streaming for a week quickly forget how things work. So got our streaming set up, back up, and online. Thankfully, it didn't take very long.
Hey, we're
And
right
we're
on
back,
time.
and we're on time. So I'm
Yes.
Colin.
I'm Rachel.
Yeah, we're good to have you all back. We're going to be talking about a fun thing tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the new Reno Collective, and why we're calling it the new Reno Collective. But I think in that, I think we also need to talk a little bit about resiliency and business, trying to grow and run a business in the pandemic. I know that we've talked about the pandemic a lot on this show. This show and other things was like our ill-fated podcast and a bunch of other things were attempts at us trying to figure out what does this look like on the internet. And I don't know, we really like doing this show, so I think this has become a big part of it. But I guess
absolutely.
how did we get here, and what's going on?
Right, exactly. Well, one day we shut. So March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, we closed our doors and said, okay, halt. Let's be safe. Everyone go home. Let's figure out what we're going to do. And then ever since then, just like everyone else has experienced, it's a never ending series of what next, what next, what next. Don't know what the future holds. One of the things that we did first actually was the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think we created an online, I think that the online live document was one of the first things that we created as a way for,
and show it to people here.
As a way for members to connect, but to also be able to add their own input. So almost a mini, trying to create a little mini community was where we started out. And we ended up presenting that at a town hall that was via Zoom and shared it with as many members as were able to attend the Zoom town hall so we could catch them up on what was going on, what we knew. They could share with us how they were. We hadn't seen them in forever.
Yeah. And this was inspired by Indie Hall, which is a co-working space out in Philadelphia. They're good friends of ours. And what I liked about this document was that it didn't require us to write any code. We didn't have to build something. It was just like writing, right? And we were trying to figure out what our members looking for, what are we looking for? Like we've been doing this for 10 years and we're being not necessarily forced to close. I think that was the weird thing. Like we weren't told we had to close. Like we're not a restaurant, but we chose to close. I mean, even preemptively, we were watching what was happening with the pandemic as people didn't yet even call it a pandemic. And we were like, we don't feel comfortable being open when we're really a space that's designed to bring people together. And if bringing people together is not safe right now, then we should not be doing this, especially because thankfully most of our members have the freedom to work literally anywhere. And so, what does that look like for members? What does it look like for us? And so this document was, kind of like our first version of what we're talking about today. It's everything from like, how do you pick up your mail, to are you feeling confused or overwhelmed? Like, do you just need some nice gifts to look at right now? Like, it was just meant to be fun. Some serious stuff in there, some fun things in there. Having one hack that I'll throw out there for a lot of people is like we use one Zoom link. So we have one Zoom room that is open 24 hours a day, so that it's not like, oh, that event I want to go to, which Zoom link is it? It's just always one Zoom link. You go there, and whatever event is happening is in that room. And that's been a big saver, just because I don't know how many people make jokes nowadays about like, are you going to send the Zoom link or should I? And like, it's just, part of
it's like a calendar, like a calendar invite. Yeah, exactly. Well, when we created that online document, our intention was that people would participate in adding things and updating things, or if they found something that was interesting, but everyone was really busy and was really stressed. And so then we went down the avenue of every Zoom call imaginable. So gaming on Zoom,
Happy
happy hours
hours.
on Zoom, chats on Zoom. We did we did a couple of in-person events. We did a couple of movies that were outside and spaced out. We tried a picnic that was outside. Of course, today it is snowing. The last couple of days, it's been snowing quite heavily and has not been an option to do anything in person outside, really, unless that's to do with snow. So it kind of forced us to reevaluate what co-working is, and knowing that for 10 years we've been basing our co-working the core of our co-working has been based around community, and the physical space was where our community really met.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the physical space, we weren't comfortable having it open. We had very few people who were interested in coming in, and everyone was learning a new skill. We were learning new skills, how to run the Reno Collective without being at the Reno Collective. Everyone was learning how to work from home, not at a coffee shop. At that point, everything was shut down. Yeah. There were no libraries. There was nowhere communal that people could meet and do their work that wasn't at home at a kitchen table.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, not in like a ha-ha way, that like so many of us aren't that good at working from home, and which is why we sought out co-working in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And then you're being forced to figure out how to work from home. And again, it's still a privilege to be able to work from home. There's still people who have to go to a certain place for work. But that does mean, like, do you have a space in your house? Do you have a room that you can turn into an office, a desk that can be turned into an office that, you know, is hopefully not the same desk that you're eating at, but if it has to be, then that's fine. Like, what is the balance? And we've talked about this in past episodes about, like, creating that dividing line. But I think, you know, having to figure out what does that look like. We've always focused on co-working, and I don't know, for me, I had to, like, think through what does, I guess as an owner of the business too, just like, what does this mean for us? And so I did write a post that at first was like a little doom and gloom, and then I think it works really well, and I'll throw it up on the screen here, which will actually be part of the website, and you'll be able to chime in on this, Rachel.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think it started out sort of doom and gloom, and then there was another revision that was very sort of, I can't, like, for lack of a better word, like radical, like, all right, it's done. We're never returning to a physical space. Everything is up in the air. Everything is now online. So get ready, because no one's hugging ever again. And that was, you know, where we started to feel like in the summer. Yeah. Like that was, I think a lot of people were when we had that kind of, I just mean in the world, there was sort of a downturn in the summer, I think, for a lot of people emotionally.
Yeah.
But
and that was when we were able to get out too. And actually, you know, now that it's been winter, I think it's hit people a lot harder. But, you know, this post started out as like very serious. And then if you saw the post that we shared a second ago, you know, it had a lot of emojis and GIFs and fun things in there. And we carried that into this. So this is actually a little teaser of the new website. We're going to keep this post, and it'll probably evolve a little bit. But the idea here, like you said, a little radical, is that like we need to stop taking ourselves so seriously, and we will get back together again. But until then, how do we cope? How do we maintain? How do we help people while you are working from home? And that might be helping you find more work. That might mean just focusing on the work you have. Like, how do we help you focus and cut out all the distractions so you can just get your work done and turn your computer off?
Well, and so I think we stemmed from that shared document, but then what are you going to do? Like, send an email out to everyone every time you update it. Well, you've sent an email out. So then we ventured down the route of a podcast. So we started a podcast, and I think we did 4. Did we do 4? I think we recorded 5, but put out 4 or something like that. But because the thought was we could share a link, we could talk about things in real time. People could tune in, they could listen to it on their own time, and we could share the updates and share the research that we were doing, because we weren't here at the collective making sure everything was physically running well. We were at home trying to make sure we ourselves, as in Colin and Rachel, were running okay at home, but then also realizing our members needed that help that you just said. You know, they had problems that we could solve. They had challenges that we might be able to have. Well, I did. My position was still here. So I had the time to, instead of making sure, nothing clogged. I was making sure I knew the best resources for, okay, PPP, idle, how to turn a bedroom into an office, or how do you actually, like, how do you distract your children while they're also at home
Doing
and
their
you're trying
hopefully
to work?
doing their homework, or
Right.
if they're not doing distance learning, however that looks. But yeah,
Right,
it's a lot.
exactly. And the podcast, it was really fun, but it didn't make it.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't too long afterwards, we decided to go down the streaming route and create this show. And while there may not have been very many live viewers, we found that people were watching the links. And
Yeah.
so it was a way that we were reaching out, getting in touch, sharing up to date information, and then also tips and tools versus just blasting out an email every single day.
Yeah, and I think part of that was, and we've learned a little bit about live events in general, just trying to reflect it even when we were in the space, is that people, I think, aspire to go to more things than they can. Uh,
Right.
right? I think we're
Yep.
all super busy and we're like, oh, I'd really like to go to that. And at the end of the day, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm just pretty tired. I don't think I'm going to go to that anymore. And
Yeah.
so being able to do this live so people can tune in, like we've got Zach and some other folks watching right now. But then also it lives on so people can watch it at any other time, I
Yeah.
think works. And we've been learning more about, on demand actually is surprisingly well done because we can spend,
Mhm.
this might be a live format and we're going live to tape, so to speak.
Yeah.
But some of the things that we're going to be doing are going to be a little bit more highly produced on demand, think like masterclass, creative live type
Mhm.
stuff where we can put the time in and make like a really good course on how to freelance in Nevada, and it will live
Mhm.
on for every freelancer whoever joins the collective and needs to learn that thing, instead of
Yeah.
doing a freelance lunch and learn every month that 5 people show up to. We can get a lot more
Right.
people to benefit from that, and I think that that's powerful.
Right, exactly. And that segues into the thing we have worked on
Yeah.
really hard for quite a while, is how do we make something like that type of course available for people that aren't currently members? Because we stopped taking new memberships.
Yeah.
And so we had a position both financially, but also the business. Like, the purpose of the business was to help people do their work better and help grow their businesses, their independent businesses. And we weren't able to do very much without having a community that people could
Mm-hmm.
access that wasn't the water cooler, because
Right.
before it was the water cooler and it was busy and we were full of people and people were interacting and collaborating and overhearing something or walking by a screen and saying, oh, hey, I just saw that on Facebook or something like that. Whereas now everyone's in these separate little rooms. We needed to bring everyone together in a more communal way than just Slack or
Right.
Facebook. Or
And it can't
yeah.
always be live like we're talking about. So
Mm-mm.
I think before we jump into what we've been working on, I think there's something
Okay.
to chat about with co-working in general, because I have to give Rachel credit for literally riding the roller coaster of like my mental state in all of this
Yep.
too. Because every co-working expert launched into solutions right away. And
Mhm.
this is where we closed voluntarily when we did, and we did reopen. Now we're open to existing members, but very carefully, very safely, mostly one person per room, per office type of situation. We
Yep.
did invest in some things like more air purification, more cleaning, all that
Mhm.
sort of stuff. But what we
Mhm.
saw immediately was like overnight you see people developing these like plexiglass bubbles that you're going to work in, and
Right.
co-working spaces are like spending quite a bit of money. I mean, they're probably not doing very well because they're closed, but then trying to reopen by spending a really large like capital expense of things that hopefully will be a bygone era of this pandemic when it's over.
Mhm.
There's a certain element of like people want their own space, but I don't necessarily think I want to go from my house to a space to work inside of a tiny phone booth either, right? Like I don't want to
Yeah.
go to a space to work inside of a bubble or to wear a
Yeah.
mask all day long when I could be at home. And so I
Yeah.
think, I have a lot of respect for Indie Hall again and Alex Hillman and their team, what they're doing. They're still fully physically close. They are not
Right.
letting anyone in that building other than to take care of houseplants and their turtle,
Aw.
which hopefully Timmy the turtle has found a new home by now. But
Yeah.
they're taking it very seriously because Philadelphia was hit pretty hard too, and
Uh-huh.
we saw that response. See there's a lot of what I would call like commercial co-working or real estate co-working where people
Mm-hmm.
have taken an empty building and tried to just throw IKEA in it and call it done. And we've always had this saying of that we're more than our four walls, and that has mattered. When we have a huge space, a small space, it doesn't matter. Is that the community is what makes the collective, because
Yeah.
anyone can put a desk and a chair together and call it co-working,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really not the spirit of it. The spirit is, again, those water cooler things you're talking about, people overhearing, collaborating, the hackathons, the events, the stuff
Yeah.
that it needs to be in the service of work, not a distraction from work. It needs to help
Yeah.
members get more work, help members get a new job, start a new company, not just,
Right.
it could also be social and fun and downtime and all of that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like trying to give all the members distractions and things so that they never finish their goal.
Yeah, yeah, and some of it is a natural what naturally happens. You're inspired by seeing something, just by talking to someone in the kitchen grabbing a coffee. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's a good idea. That would never have come about. Well, maybe would have, like in the shower.
Slower, maybe,
It's like
slower. But
those
I mean,
moments. Yeah.
even for me, like, back in, this was 8 years ago now, but like in 2012 or so is when I met
Hmm.
Chris, and we started a company and then went on to raise money, and that company's dead and
Hmm.
gone now, but like we didn't know each other before the collective, and we started
Yeah.
doing some hackathons and some projects, and it's that kind of thing that you can't fake it, you can't manufacture it. And so what we've been trying to think through is like, how do we make this tool, this community, so that even when we physically open again, it's only going to make it even better when we're in the space.
Right.
And I know there's like a lot of ways of us like beating around the bush and talking around what we're working on, but really it's figuring out, like, we had to go through these exercises like
Yeah.
multiple times, and we're like,
Yeah.
oh, we have the perfect solution, and the next day I was like, this isn't gonna work, like we're gonna start
Yeah.
over again.
This is a terrible idea. No one's going to do this. We are cruise directing again. Yeah.
Yeah, so cruise directing, do you want to explain that? That's actually
So
another thing from Alex.
yeah, exactly. So cruise directing is this sort of terminology for creating a lot of events, having everything available, and then welcoming everyone on board and saying, do what you want, pick and choose. We've got everything for everybody. We have something for everybody. And so there might be one or two passengers that actually take you up on those things. And they liking the idea of having them available, but whether people participate
So
versus.
how does it feel to be the cruise director? I'll ask that
Oh
first.
my God. The emoji with the little brain that goes like that. That's how it feels.
Yeah, it's exhausting to
Yeah,
be in that
it
cruise
is.
director role, and it tends to be like, I'm sure that literal cruise directors, it's a job that probably has a lot of burnout and churn.
Yeah.
And you have to enjoy traveling, but you're also doing the same thing over and over again, hoping in
Mm-hmm.
some cases for a different outcome, right? You're
Right.
going to do the same tour you've done, the same event, all that kind of stuff.
And one of the things that we relied on was knowing we have to know what people want and then create that. Part of that is also which people will get engaged to drive something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we might have done like 3 major surveys over 6 or 8 months of asking our members. I think the first one was really, how are you
Yeah,
and
how are
what
you
do you
doing?
need right now? Like,
Yeah.
how are you doing and what do you need? If you need someone to buy some milk, if I've got the time, I will do it. If you just need a smile, if you need a conversation, I'm here. Give me a ring. But it evolved into, okay, what can we do for you? What kind of problems are you trying to solve? And then what do you want? Like the third iteration was really, what is it that you're looking for and you want to have from us? And then, we pulled it all together and
Yeah.
made our new little pretty site.
So when we say co-working is dead, long live co-working, it's kind of a cheeky,
Mhm.
phrase in that, what does this mean that we're doubling down on community? And, our members have stuck with us. It's why we're still around. I know
Yep.
some businesses have not been as lucky as us to still be open. But what we want to do is be able to make sure everyone feels safe. And so with that, I know the first, kind of knee-jerk reaction is like, great, now we're going to just be living on Zoom more. And we wanted to develop something that's not just more Zoom all the time. There'll still be Zoom calls. Like our last town hall was awesome. Like we hadn't done one in long enough where everyone was like, this is like the best Zoom call we've had this week. Versus, I have 3 or 4 Zooms a day for work. So like those are different, right? They're just a different energy to them. And so not everything that we're doing is focused on Zoom. And so what we're doing, we'll just jump into it. I'm sharing my screen for Rachel's sake here.
Nice.
Is that this is the new Reno Collective website. This will be live on Monday, the 1st of February. So we have built out an online community, which looks very much, let's see if this all works, looks very much like this here, that allows people to see all of our upcoming events, ask feedback, ask for questions, share weekly wins, virtually co-work with us. We'll talk about some of those things in a second. Like actual events, mentorship, our mastermind group, all kinds of stuff. So Zach's calling it Spacebook. That's exactly so. You can't think of this as like a Facebook for the collective. We've tried to do Facebook group, not very productive. Not everyone's on Facebook. So again, there's a lot of things that are like on the cutting room floor from this. Like we've tried every app.
Yeah.
We thought about writing our own. Then I was like, glad that we didn't do that. And then let's see. So in this, and you'll get to check this out, but we're basically looking at a way for members to join, especially creatives, remote workers, anyone who maybe wanted to be a part of the community but never needed the space. And I think that's a whole new category for us, right? You might work at an agency, you might work at a company, and you might feel like you're like the only tech person at your company, and you want to be a part of that a larger community. We kind of historically always been like a more tech leaning. I wouldn't say that like we're probably like 20% programmers now, but it's still a very entrepreneurial, freelance, self-starter community. And being a member at $200 a month just didn't make sense if you didn't need a desk. And the exciting thing here is that now at our new membership, so we have a work from home membership, work from home plus, and our mastermind membership, is that you can actually now be a member for $29 a month. And then we have a fee that pop up from there. And so this is really exciting because we do think that the network is one of the most important things here. And so, we're going to change our job board, which we'll look at in a second. That will be something that companies can post to, that you can post gigs to, projects to, and that'll be only available to the members, so that members will get essentially first dib on those kinds of things. In addition to that tool that we looked at, the Spacebook, we'll also have co-work with us, so actual facilitated co-working sessions. So if you need to kind of focus, we've experimented with this as well, but we're really going to be focusing on like 1 hour Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll be doing live Q&As. And then I think the thing that our members were the most excited about, which I'm really happy for, is on our Work From Home Plus membership, is that we're going to have a digital library and book club. And this is not so much like we've always had a library, right? We have a bookshelf in the space full of books that no
dusty
one reads.
library.
Is that you actually will be able to check out books very much like going to a regular library. And Su Ting mentioned that like Atomic Habits, one of my favorite books, has like a 30-week wait time at the library. So we'll have our own digital copies that are Kindle, EPUB, that kind of stuff. And so we'll be able to curate those, and all members will have access to that. And when we want more than one copy, we can then just do that. We can say, we're going to do a book club on Essentialism or Atomic Habits, and we can say for 2 months there's going to be 30 copies or whatever we want to do for that. So that will be exciting. We're not going to dive into all the features for this. This will all be on the website on the 1st, so you can check it out. We're going to be doing a bunch of videos and just a lot of explaining next week. But the other cool thing is that these memberships will accrue day passes. So when we do open, you can actually come check out the space if you've never used the space before, This will be when we're like 100% feeling like COVID is behind us in the past.
Yeah.
But you'll be accruing these day passes that you can use for yourself, or if you've been in the space before, being able to use those for guests and things like that. So,
Yeah.
being able to still focus on the space is going to be a big piece of that. We can talk about Mastermind in a second, but
Yeah.
I think some of this stuff is, I'm just kind of scrolling through the website. I know Rachel can't see this right now.
That's okay. I'm running through it in
We
my
can
mind.
do the jobs page. So this is a little tease of the jobs. We have 3 on our website currently. So here's an example of that. These will, right now, you can see everything about these jobs, but these will in the future be basically, you'll get to see the roles, but you won't be able to see the company or apply for them unless you're a member. We also really want to make this go in the direction of more freelance contract projects and less like full-time employment.
Yeah, absolutely. Add more of that on there.
We're happy to have both because we have a lot of folks who work for like Mozilla and WooCommerce and companies like that where they want to be in a space and those companies pay for their co-working, which is a win-win for everybody.
Well, and that part of this, by opening up the community to people who, by not being able to have a price that doesn't necessarily include the physical space. So if it's day passes, it's not 24/7 in the space, and not having to allot for that physical the physical space needed for a membership like that. So having the lower price point will enable so many more freelancers to take advantage of the community and then find those postings and also share your own postings, because it's not just companies that might be looking for employees. It's also we have a content writer who just recently hired an assistant. We have translated. We've got our member who works at WooCommerce just posted, although they were full-time positions, but full-time remote. So again, another good need for co-working. So it can be just gigs, and it's going to open up to so many more people as audience members than just those that had a focus on having a physical space as well as the community.
Yeah, I think I feel really good about this just because I get excited that we're still working on the space, even though we're in a limited capacity. And it's helped us to think about how we would use the space when we return. And that, I think, is also work is going to look different. I think we will get to a point where everyone looks back and we'll get back to a lot of normalcy. But there's a lot of those meetings that could have been emails type of things that we're hopefully going to learn from, or the Zooms that could have been emails, things like that.
Or a Zoom call that could have been a text.
Exactly.
All kinds of things.
So I do think that we're going to see, we are already seeing this with headquarters of larger companies closing, and then they're reopening more like satellite either offices or giving their employees co-working stipends, things like that. So we're going to see more of almost in some ways a work-life balance, as long as you understand that it's very easy for work from home to take over your life. And we plan on talking about that a lot as well. I think I didn't go through it on the website, but we have an entire section dedicated to work from home, an entire section dedicated to AFK, so away from the keyboard. What do you do when you want to get away from the screen and have that balanced life? And we're really just trying to take a holistic approach to this. And I think even without having written any of the code per se for this, it still took us a long time to put this together. So it feels really good to it's almost February, and we're excited to get it out there. And so I think the big thing is going to be when we get it out there. If you know of any freelancers, if you are a freelancer, if you're trying to start a company, if you're a student, whatever that looks like, to definitely share this with people. And I think we're going to be launching with an annual plan as well that will be significantly cheaper at each level. So full disclosure, we're figuring this out. So if you have feedback, let us know. If there's something that's that doesn't quite make sense, just ask. And Rachel's going to be giving virtual tours. Which instead of a physical space giving a tour, it's more of a tour of what do we offer as a community, and what will you benefit from being part of that.
Yeah, exactly. And being able to, literally through the power of screen share, take someone through the community, and if there's something they're missing or if there's something they're looking for, and show them where it's at. I mean, we have been do you call it? Like in mechanics, it's like we've been under the hood. We have been under
Yes.
the hood. We've kicked the tires. We've looked in the we've pulled the hub cap off. Like we've done all the things. So I don't think there's any door we haven't opened on this thing. And what's great is that it is owned by a company that is also itself growing and is super responsive. And so we kind of, I feel like I'm part of a team working on this that's larger than just Colin and I, in order to serve our members. And that's really exciting too. I think it's a big deal because we have so much, we can control things, we can ask for things, yeah, and make it fit what our members need versus what we might assume they want.
Yeah, I mean, when we did those surveys, I think the things we were asking people, well, I was pretty surprised. Like, and
Yeah.
we've had to take the temperature, right, and kind of read the room. Do people want focus on their business, or do they
Mm-hmm.
want to be left alone, right? And
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of people, I mean, the things that people wanted to hear, like we're like, we could offer a course on how to code. They're like, yeah, I want a class on how to meditate. Like they're very different,
Yeah.
right? It's like, do you
Yeah.
want to do more or do you want to do less better? And I
Uh-huh.
think everyone's in the I want to do less better so I can turn it off and
Yeah.
go, outside and spend time away from the computer. And I think that that's
Yeah.
very telling. I mean, we were in not only the pandemic news cycle, politics news cycle, and then if you're running a business, you know what it takes to do that, and it's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
work. And so we want to be that
Yeah.
support system. And there's some fun things that we've looked at everything from how do we offer our members insurance? How do we offer like there's so many things we could look at in the future that
Yeah.
hopefully we can explore. The insurance one involves us getting involved in politics, right? And like going
Right.
to the state legislature and figuring out
Yeah.
why we can't be a group, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things there that I think we can explore. And, again, we want you to share what things you're looking for
Yeah.
and all that. So John says that this church could have been a YouTube video, which could have also been a Facebook Live, and attached to an email sent via
Thanks,
text.
John.
So.
Yep. Yep. All of it. Don't forget about Periscope.
Yes. The best part
Took
is
too
that
long for TikTok.
this Twitch will be a YouTube video when
Yeah,
it's all
it
done.
is a YouTube video.
So, yeah, and we get the irony of like using more tech to help people.
Yeah.
We're trying to do less of that. I can't wait till we can do movie nights and outdoor
Mhm.
things again. That will
Yeah.
be very nice. So,
Yeah.
watching things together online is not the same. So,
Yeah, it's just not quite the same,
not
but
quite the same.
we're getting closer. We're getting closer.
John
I
says he's
think.
looking forward to the Reno Collective MySpace. So we'll have to figure out who's in the top 9 every day. But yeah, good old social network. The best
Long
part
time.
is when we went through. I don't think I have it on the blog yet. We're importing all the blog posts from the old site. Is that
Mhm.
our very first blog post? I wonder if I can find it. We'll share it online. It talks. This is like 2008. We're talking about building
Yep.
an online community because
Uh-huh.
we don't yet have a space, and
Yep.
like we both just started laughing when we
That-
saw that.
Just yeah, so close to our hearts.
I think we used the word social network in quotes back then. So.
yeah, exactly.
And now it's
Exactly.
just
It was
everyday
still
life.
the Facebook.
The Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah, I don't think we ever had a Reno Collective MySpace. I think that was before our time, but
Prior, I hope.
yes. So I think that's all we've got for you. I know it was a little
Yeah.
rambling and it took us some time to get there, but that we had to take you on the journey that we went on. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, and also to sort of explain why we're doing this is because of these things that we've talked about that are important and that people forget about. And I think a lot of people are, like working at home and maybe needing a little bit of input from other people that
Yeah.
isn't coming from a spouse or a roommate or a kid or an animal, or they're completely on their own and have no outlet.
talking to themselves, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Or the plant,
Yeah.
I guess, sitting between two ferns, just chatting away. Yeah, so that's part of the story. That's that's how we got here. And then the next step is participation, is getting everyone excited to participate in doing this. So our what we did was we launched to our members because, of course, they get exclusive first access. So we've been working with our members to kick off the community, and then we'll be working with opening it up next week to the public, inviting people in. But of course, so many questions, and we are here to answer them.
Absolutely. So where can people find us after the show?
After the show, they can find us on YouTube. They can find us on Facebook, renocollective.com. It's like, wait a second, am I using the right one? And then later when
more domains later.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have another 15, but
so if you're wondering if you're not already on the newsletter, if you go to renocollective.com today, there's still a newsletter on there you can sign up for. We'll be rolling this out to all the newsletter on the 1st, which is thankfully a Monday, and all of that too. So it's a good way to find it. And I think that'll do it for this episode. Do we have a topic for next week?
Yes, it's the energy audit.
Yes.
Good. So that'll be us talking about how we have gone from burnout to tons of energy to burnout to tons of energy. But we'll look at it as more of a formal process through an energy audit, but we're going to look at January. Awesome. The week after that is going to be with a local yoga instructor that we are good friends with. And I'm going to have you say her name in case I mess up the end of it.
So that's Kelly.
Kelly Aguilera.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I didn't have it right the last time, but she's going to be talking about work from home, sort of physical movement. So not necessarily like lifting weights and all of that, but stretches, sitting at the desk, how to prevent injury, things like that. So she's going to take us through that. She's from the studio, a yoga space here in Reno.
Perfect. Well, looking forward to this. Everybody stay safe. More snow is coming, and we'll see you online.
Yes, we will. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.